I'm Tom Gordon. I was once, some time ago, the director of the School of Music at Memorial University, and currently, with my wife Mary O'Keefe, I'm one of the honorary co-chairs of the Tuckamore Festival. Mary and I have known Marc since August 1988, almost 40 years. Marc had just been named the conductor of the Sherbrooke Symphony Orchestra. He was a young fellow full of ambition and great enthusiasm. And Mary and I had just returned to Sherbrooke after spending a year working in Switzerland. We had an amazing first meeting. He was so full of energy and so excited about building a music community in Sherbrooke. And we immediately realized there were lots of things we could do together. Almost immediately, Marc and Mary founded l'Orchestre Chambre de l'Estrie, the Sherbrooke Chamber Orchestra. And over the next 5 to 8 years, it became one of the most important musical organizations in southeastern Quebec. They had a full season of concerts. They toured all over the townships under the auspices of the Orford Music Festival. It was an exciting, vibrant, young group of musicians, most of whom had just finished music school. And together, they did these astounding performances of great music for chamber orchestra. I have a vivid memory. I was the roadie for the organization. I didn't play in the orchestra. My main job was lugging the harpsichord around. But we had wonderful tours. And I remember vividly sitting in this beautiful urban park in a small town in Quebec, and the orchestra playing Dvorak's Serenade for Strings. And I thought, this is maybe the most wonderful musical event I've ever been at in my life. And it was that sense of wonderful kind of coming together of community and musicians together. Soon after, Marc and Mary founded the Chamber Orchestra. Marc and I and composer Andrew MacDonald recognized there was one missing gap in the musical community, and that was a new music ensemble. So together, the three of us founded Ensemble Musica Nova. And that was an organization that continued for another 35 years, offering concerts of newly commissioned works and the classics of 20th century music. One of my most vivid memories then was Marc helped realize my lifelong dream of creating a recreation of the original production of Stravinsky's L'Histoire du Soldat. And we did it in a wonderful little black box theater with local actors and musicians. And it was just an epic evening, not the least because it was also the evening that Marc's second daughter, Isabel, was born. Isabel, whom we all know now as a wonderful pianist. So we had, our lives were deeply intertwined, Mary's and Marc's and mine, for a period of 10 years while he was active in Sherbrooke. Our lives intertwined as musicians. We made music together every week. Our lives intertwined as friends. We saw each other's families growing together, and we experienced just a wonderful life there. Then, in 1992, Marc got the call for the NSO. And I have to admit, I was insanely jealous. I had first traveled to Newfoundland in my 20s, way back in 1968. And I knew from my first visit here that this was a vibrant musical community that I would love to be a part of. But instead of me coming here, it was my buddy Marc. So for a number of years, I lived vicariously through Marc's experiences here with the NSO, as he saw the opportunity to build a really, really rich musical community through this orchestra. And then, miraculously, in the year 2000, Mary and I got our call to Newfoundland, where I came and joined the School of Music at Memorial. And Mary came and became the harpsichordist with the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra and Symphonia. And just a few years later, its operations manager. So once again, we found ourselves with the opportunity of collaborating with Marc in really, really exciting ways. I think collaboration is one of those things that we need to emphasize with Marc. He's a phenomenal collaborator. He has, in his time here, he's had the symphony work with almost every other arts organization in our community. And that spirit of working together, which is so characteristic of artistic life in Newfoundland and Labrador, is something that he was made to join. He really has taken every advantage of that. From my own perspective, when I was director of the School of Music, we had phenomenal opportunities to collaborate together, and Marc jumped in on every occasion. I think one of the things that both of us have reason to be really proud of was the creation in the year 2001 of the Orchestral Chairs program. That was a scheme where we got government funding to create internships for young musicians at the School of Music to join the orchestra. And over the years, there would be 10, 12, up to 15 students from the School of Music who were having the opportunity to gain professional experience with the NSO. Interestingly, and I think really importantly, that program has almost replaced itself by the very fact that many of those musicians who first sat on this stage as a member of the Orchestral Chairs program are now permanent members of the orchestra. When I'm here listening to a concert, I look out on the stage and I can count practically all of the string players as being one-time students who first played in the orchestra through that program. And it was really Marc's willingness and his vision to open the orchestra for that experience that made that happen. We had other opportunities to collaborate as well, really important ones. When the School of Music started its master's programs, one of them was in orchestral conducting. And Marc was really helpful in helping us to formulate that program, to set it up, to create the guidelines for it, and in the early years, very active in coaching our students. And we can see that legacy today with the Emerging Conductors program that still is a very important part of the orchestra's outreach and its development for young musicians. I think Marc's impact here is well, first of all, it has to start with what a wonderful musician he is. Marc has the three most important qualities of a great musician. He has giant ears, he has a giant intellect, and he has great empathy. My first experience with Marc's ears came early on. We were collaborating on a concert, and we were performing Maurice Ravel's Trois Poèmes de Stéphane Mallarmé. That's a work for a singer with a chamber group, about 12 musicians. And I went to the first rehearsal. I was playing piano. And we kind of get into it, and suddenly he stops the orchestra. And he said, Tom, that's a G sharp, not a G. And I was playing a chord that had like 7 notes in it, and there were 10 other instruments surrounding, but he heard right into the center of that chord to know what it was. I was kind of blown away by that. He also has a great intellect as a musician. If you ever get a chance to look at one of his marked up scores for a performance, it's something between a work of art and a complex mathematical proof. Every single detail in the score is highlighted, and it's the result of hours and hours and hours of analysis. He's someone who takes nothing in music for granted. And then finally, that empathy. I think of all the conductors I've known in my life, nobody is better at pairing with a soloist than Marc. And it's because he listens, and he sees himself in that role of bringing people together as a musician. And then I think maybe one of the most remarkable things, and here again, it's a result of collaboration. Marc's work with the board and with the administrators of the NSO have, especially in these last few years, transformed what was a really wonderful community orchestra into a fully professional orchestra. This is now the organization that employs the most musicians in the entire province. And it makes it possible for musicians to live a life here, to live a fruitful and sustainable life playing music. And that's because of the transformation of the orchestra into something that is really proudly a fully professional orchestra and still hasn't lost its sense of being very much part of the community. That's a kind of great combination, and if there's one really important legacy that Marc and all of those, the board, the administrators, have brought together, that's the one that I think I treasure most. I've got a lot of personal memories with Marc as well. Some of them probably shouldn't be told in public. Any of you who've joined Marc after a concert at the Duke of Duckworth know he's a pretty sharp pool player. And in our days back in Quebec, where we sometimes visited less than high-class pubs, there were times when he and I would be hustling at the pool table. Well, he more than me. And at some point, he would whisper to me, "Go out and start the car. I think we're going to need to leave here pretty quickly." But beyond all of that, I think my most important memories of Marc were musical ones. I can remember sitting in this hall, I can't remember how many years ago, but he had invited André Laplante to come and play the Brahms Second Piano Concerto. It, to this day, is in the top 3 musical moments of my life. And equally, I can remember performing under Marc, especially a few years back when he bravely programmed Stravinsky's Symphony of Psalms. And there are 2 pianos in that, so I got to join Leslie Hayes in the orchestra. It's a work that's very, very dear to my heart, and to have the opportunity to play it with him was a lifetime memory. I know Marc's stepping down from the podium now, and I wish him enormous happiness. A couple of months ago, he surpassed me in the Grandpa Sweepstakes, and so I hope that he has lots of time to enjoy being papa to his grandchildren. But I also want to hand him this bit of advice. A musician never retires. You may step down from the podium, but music is always going to be at the center of your life, Marc. Good luck, and thanks.